We're roughly 50 days into this Biden presidency, and there's a lot of talk about a return to some kind of normalcy in Washington from a president addressing the nation honestly about a national crisis that hadn't happened in a while, to just getting major legislation passed. And while those things relate to the new president, turns out the ex-president is also acting traditional in one way. For all the hype and bluster and threats, so far Donald Trump is actually turning out a lot like other ex-presidents in both parties, who largely avoided the political spotlight and the daily fray of political fighting. Now, the reasons may be different. Trump was booted from Twitter over alleged incitement, and Trump is more nationally polarizing than most ex-presidents in either party. But 50-plus days in, we can see he's largely avoided attacking Biden in public, or going on TV, which he used to like doing, or really doing much of anything in public save that one speech at CPAC. He's mostly stayed out of view at Mar-a-Lago. Republican politicians clearly want to stay popular with MAGA voters. He is the former nominee. But as for their leader, Politico has a whole new article about how Trump is now adrift in political exile and far from the, quote, political Godzilla that some Republicans were bracing for, reporting that while he does have this PAC and an office, even Republicans don't know what that PAC is actually doing, and thus his recent actions are largely met with a shrug by the GOP. It is, to some, an unexpected development, and it has political implications. So we are joined by Meredith McGraw, Politico White House reporter, who co-authored that particular article. Also with us is Sam Nunberg, former advisor to Donald Trump. Meredith, what gives?
Well, President Trump, his post-presidency was supposed to be Trump continuing to be this major power player, Godzilla, over the party. He threatened to maybe form a third party. That never ended up happening. There was talks about him joining another social media platform once he was booted from Twitter. There was talks about him even forming his own news empire. That didn't happen either. And the former presidents also talked about trying to take revenge and support insurgent Republican candidates. But so far, he's really supported pretty traditional Republican candidates. When he has chosen to weigh in, it's been a little bit all over the map. And as you said in your intro, he's largely avoided attacking Biden when it does go out there on the public stage.
Yeah. Sam, we lived through the Trump era together. You remember all that, right?
We certainly did.
And
I certainly do.
This is your first time back on the beat post-inauguration. I'm curious your view of the reporting in Meredith's piece, if you think that premise is shaping up correctly. And if so, why is Donald Trump so quiet?
Well, I respect Meredith. I respect her reporting. I actually don't agree necessarily with the premise for the following reasons. As you just said, we're only 50 days out. I have friends that work for him in that political apparatus that he does have, the Save America PAC. It's run by Jason Miller, Bill Stepien, Justin Clark. Those are three people that were from the campaign. As with everything with Donald Trump, we now see that there's intrigue. There's others that want to start a separate PAC, such as Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie. There are people competing to bring their own clients to get Trump's endorsement. And what Miller and that triumvirate have done is they're trying to create a straighter process. So, but they're not around him all day. He's doing book interviews on Thursdays and Fridays. He's going to be announcing that he's coming out with a book. The social media platform is also I'm told, going to come out. But yes, we are only 50 days out. Remember, this is a man who should have, but didn't expect to be leaving the Oval Office on January 20th, right? So
yeah, and
he's still
I'll
in
jump
shock,
in to say,
I'm sure, for those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll jump in to say, I mean, the reporting is about these first 50-some days. So you may, through your sources and your sense of it, see where it may go in another 300 days or how it may look going into midterms. I will say that we all three of us know that Donald Trump does care about his public image. Press and public adulation is probably one of the only constants in his entire chaotic life. We checked on this methodically because the numbers can tell the story. I'm going to show you this recent period going from about the fall campaign through the election, through January, which was, of course, what we lived through on the insurrection. This is from Google, so it's a macro data set, and you can see, obviously, where things spike around the election, November, debates, right, then January 6th. What you see in the right-hand corner there is a complete crash, Sam. I'm curious, not just from Twitter, but from staying off TV and as Meredith wrote, really not even hitting Biden on easy stuff where he could. Trump is at now an all-time low since he entered politics. Do you think he knows that? Do you think he cares? What about that?
I think he does. Look, does he know it? Will he admit it? Is the answer? I'm sure he knows. Meredith did talk about it in her piece, and let's remember, he issues these press releases. Those are really just his string tweets. He cannot tweet anymore. He's been deplatformed. So there are times where he will want to do that, and it's just basically going to be internecine fights within the Republican Party. The larger picture, though, going into the midterms that you have to remember is his endorsement is determinative of those primaries, at least 95% of them. Whether Mitch McConnell likes it, whether Cheney likes it, that is the reality. And that's why you've seen him already endorse through Lindsey Graham's visit at Mar-a-Lago incumbents in certain states in those Senate races. We Republicans, I say we have 2 senators that are retiring. I guarantee you that at least one of them will be a nominee who he endorses in Ohio and Missouri. You're looking at Arizona. He has a major role to play. And Mitch McConnell played this so badly. And that's where I think that you'll see Trump will be back.
Well, you're sounding,
regardless of whether
Sam,
he
you're
runs
sounding
in 2022.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.